Yep. My name is Greg Roderick. I am the director of The World is Lit by Lightning. Um, I live in New York City. The film is based on a historical fiction experience of Tennessee Williams running into a non-binary person in a bar in New Orleans in 1943. They obviously would not have had a label for themselves at the time, but this person is getting by as best they can, and through a exchange throughout the evening, Tennessee gets the inspiration for writing The Glass Menagerie.
So I'm Romain Pham Roellet. I'm a French and Vietnamese film director, and I made the film Jean Fell in Love, uh, which is a short film about a rugby player called Jean, which is a typical French name. And in France, like rugby is like a big thing, not as big as in North America, I know. And it is known for being very masculine, very virile, and the main character Jean falls in love with a guy from another team, and like despite the friendship he has with his teammates and his like team and his love for the sport, like everything goes mad because of his love for another man. I grew up in a small city near Paris, in the suburbs, which is not the same as the suburbs in the US. It would be like more popular neighborhoods, whereas downtown would be the fancier ones. And there was a rugby club in the team, and like when there is a rugby club in a city, sorry, you know it because everybody plays rugby. This is like the thing. They become the cool guys, and in middle school and high school, I just hung out with them all the time because like I couldn't avoid them basically. And when we were starting to come of age and talk about like sexuality and girls, I noticed that they were very, very threatened by the topic of homosexuality, and like, but it wasn't like it was a subject matter of the time we were living in. So tried to speak about it. People tried to speak to them about it, but they didn't want to do it. They felt threatened. They only made jokes about it. They only like felt worried, and so while at the same time being very erotic between one another. In the locker room, they're always naked.
Right.
There's always this kind of like tactile friendship, very tactile, and like I saw in like a very big split between the reality and what they felt like about this topic. So I felt like I needed to maybe explore and try to find out what made it all so touchy, to them.
Well, athletics, whether you're talking professional sports or high school level sports here in the States, I think is the same sort of environment, the same sort of feeling in a locker room. There's that butt slapping, camaraderie of the teammates, but to admit that there was anything homoerotic going on would be very threatening to these guys.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Romain.
Oh no, that's why that's why I feel like the film is relatable, even in North America where rugby isn't so much a thing, because it's like you create like the locker room is the main setting of the film, and it's because in sports you create a space where there's no the rules are created by the ones living in the space, and it can end up being toxic.
Yeah, I think that we all know that sexuality and gender are a spectrum, and I think that in growing up, especially in cultures, I think most cultures, that's very threatening when you are growing up to have those type of feelings. And I think especially in sports, as you said, where men are in a locker room naked with each other, they are feeling these feelings. And I'm not saying there's homosexual feelings there. It's just an exploration of sexual parameters that they're still feeling out. And so the slap on the ass, there's thrills there, there's a feeling there that they're getting, that eventually may find their way into the heterosexual norm or the homosexual norm or in between. And I think that that's great. That sounds like what you're exploring, Romain, is that dynamic of where we're at that time of life and what people are experiencing.
Well, it's also a power dynamic, right? It's who's in control of that space, and the sort of playful, whether it be teasing or physical, is a statement of, I control this space. This is mine, and I'll decide whether or not you belong.
Yeah, without seeing the film, you just analyzed how the power dynamics work within the team, because the main character is like, I wrote Jean to be like a leader figure in the team, and you see how like his outing changes the power dynamics. And it's also like a thing, I don't know if it's the same in the US, but in rugby in France, the locker room is the only place the coach can't come in, and no one from the staff can come in. So it's like, that's what I told you about a space only for and by the players.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Greg, you mentioned closeting.
Yeah.
Tell me about both Tom and Kip.
I mean, as you know, that given the time period, it wasn't so much as outing as that the non-heteronormative life had to be completely underground. There was no such thing as living out and proud. And I think that, we all know Tennessee Williams and how he navigated through that in history. And he sort of did come out over time, especially in his later years. But we catch him at a time where he's probably really at his most prolific. He talks about having come out of Mississippi, and he sort of finds himself in New Orleans in his, Tennessee Williams New Orleans period. And then he runs across this person who also escaped Mississippi, who's in New Orleans at the time. They're sort of in the process of moving elsewhere. Currently, they're in New Orleans. They're working as a sex worker, basically to get to where they really want to go. Which in the film, they talk about going to L.A. That's the dream, is to go to L.A. and become a star. And so there's the tie-in with show business as well. The theater, film industry, and Tennessee Tom inspires this person to maybe make a different choice than moving to Los Angeles. And I think that they both experience some profound change. They both change each other in their meeting and inspire each other. And that's sort of where the title comes in, as the world is lit by lightning. We get these moments where somebody comes out of nowhere and strikes us and inspires us or changes us in a way that we didn't expect.
But the title also, at least for me, suggested that it's a dark world and you're only going to get flashes of illumination. And
yeah, that's a great observation. And lightning can also be dangerous. So we don't know what this lightning is, and it can, I think there's a lot of ways that title can be taken. And that's what I kind of love about the title.
Yeah.
The film was inspired. Kevin Brofsky is our screenwriter. He's a playwright in New York. And right before COVID, I saw a short play festival that he wrote this piece in. And after the piece, I went up to him and I said, this is a short film. If you ever want to make it, let me know. And then COVID happened, and we're all sitting around, doing our things. And he wrote this into a screenplay. And after COVID, he was able to come up with the funding, and he said, let's do this. So that's sort of how I found the piece. And Kevin and I have known each other for 30 years. So, but he's incredibly talented, and he's going to be there as well. He's coming up on.
Oh, great.
On Sunday, so.
I think it's Kip says, and this is something that I think we can apply to both films, says we can only do things within the reality of who we are.
Well, I think that, we all, basically the statement speaks for itself. I think we all have our own personal experiences, and we can only to ask us to do something that we're unaware of being able to do is really sort of impossible until we experience it and grow from that experience. So we are all within our own little world of what our lives are about. It's in some ways it's about the opposite in that I think that we all should have a little more grace and understanding of other people and what their experiences are. I think that we're growing as a society, as a culture, as a global culture, into seeing more equanimity and differences in people and honoring those differences as opposed to striking out against people's differences and understanding their different viewpoints. We don't all have a monolithic way of seeing things because people come from different backgrounds and different genders, and we're allowing people now to express their genders in new ways that prior to really, unless very inner cities, prior to this, we've never been able to allow. And I think that is really just so exciting. But I think that Kip speaks to that.
It is. And Kip lives in a time and in a place where sex worker is really the only option available to them.
Yeah.
And this whole current wave of people expressing different sexualities, different gender identities, and having a possible life, being able to still live a very rewarding and successful life, that's new. And that's what's so scary to all this pushback, is that people are not reacting well to new information.
Well, they never do. I think, to me, on a positive spin of that, is we're seeing so much unfortunate violence and laws being passed against, but that is in direct response to this wonderful blossoming that's happening. And we see that all the time. We saw that against gay marriage. We've seen that as the rise of gay people were allowed to sort of come out and live more normal lives. We weren't shoved into this like perversion, world that the people wanted to think we were. As we came out more, there was a bigger backlash. And I think that anytime culture grows, we see that backlash, and we will get through this time as well. It's a tough time.
If you go back and listen to the Anita Bryant period in the 70s, she's making the same arguments that they're making about trans people now, that we're a threat to children, that we're out recruiting. It's a tired argument that didn't work back in the 70s.
Nope. And it won't work now. It will for a bit until we move past it. It's a very difficult time right now for the drag trans, any non cisgendered community right now. It's a very difficult time, but I believe that it's growing pains, and we will get through them.
Yeah. Romain, I want to toss that question back to you, but also ask in Paris, where you're located, and in London, where you currently are, are you seeing the same sort of angry pushback that we are here in the States?
It's very interesting, because the question you're just asking is gonna partly be answered by what I was about to answer. And Greg, I feel like somehow, without even making a film in a relatable space and time, because mine is in French countryside in 2023, and yours is a timepiece in New Orleans. But I feel like we both wanted to be in a space where the open-mindedness we have and we want the society to have isn't accepted. And whether we like it or not, we are influenced, and we can only think so far as we like the place and time and situation we are brought up in. And this is the case of the character Jean. Jean is since he was brought up in this masculine countryside vibe, very white, very only being with the same people all the time, he doesn't know how to express himself, his love and the way he feels. And the film, the character, his lover, Ayub, is the opposite. He comes from the city. He's from Arabic origins, and he claims his sexuality. And this is, you need someone to somehow show the way, in order to be inspired. And that's the case of the character. And to answer to the question, Claire, I feel like there's a huge split in Europe. It's not only UK and in France, between the main cities and between the countrysides or more popular areas. And even more than that, I feel like there's a huge polarization. More and more, we see more open-minded people, and the open-minded people will become more and more open-minded and be able to say it. And on the contrary, we'll get more and more like people against, like, basically human rights, that feel threatened by the rights of others, and their answers will become more and more violent. And so I feel like it's not only on this subject matter, but about society as a whole. We see this polarization happening in every, at least that I know of, Western country.
Yeah.
And that's the case. Like, for example, I was just in Belgium, like, on Friday, 3 days ago, to show the film to teenagers, which is a difficult thing to do, because they react like strongly to homosexual kisses on screen, which is fun. Like, you feel the ripples of cringe and of like unease moving up the audience, and they laugh, some of them applauded, some of them cringed. I could hear them. And it wasn't the case when I was in middle school or high school a few years ago, but I saw groups of queer people. Like, they were cheering, they were like embracing whatever they wanted to be, and that felt good to see, at their age. And at the same time, all the questions I was asked were very, very not mean, because it's just teenagers. They don't want to be mean. They just don't know. They probably don't know how to talk about the topic, and because of that, they are clumsy, and it's fine. It's the point. It's the point of such a Q&A. But that shows how polarized even teenagers become. Like, whether either they're on one side or another, but the middle ground is becoming blurry.
Yeah. And it speaks to the importance of both of your films, that these stories get out there, that kids, no matter what their orientation are, get a chance to see a gay kiss. And Greg, in terms of your film, the providing people with a time frame, that this is not a new subject. It might be new to you, but gender identity and sexuality has been part of the ongoing cultural debate for quite some time. This is not new.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you can look at photos from the Civil War and see same-sex couples, or you can talk, if you read history going back into the 1600s, and how at court you had gender bending that was much more, almost more accepted than it is now. One of the first, I found this amazing, one of the first I guess governors of the province, it was before this, New York City was maybe one of the, in Amsterdam, like Lord Kornberger or something, was a funny name, was actually he dressed in dresses, and he would meet dignitaries in dresses, it was. But it's amazing, so it really is there, but we just, it's fringe society. And I think that, so I think that that's part of this film, is to just take us to a period of time where we're experiencing, and it's, we lived through a period of extreme conservatism in the mid 20th century. Prior even to the mid 1950s, you had Berlin was very open with
Sure.
gender expression. Yeah.
And Romain, that it's that this is where this attempt at erasure, this is where it's your locker room scene writ large, that when intolerant people run things, and set the tone, set the terms of the
The
debate,
rule.
we get erased.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to go back to what you, that's also why I insist on going to the screenings where there are young people. Because what the film taught me was that, yes, I'm making films to tell a story and to make people feel something, but a film is always political. And if I want to influence in even just a tiny way the people, the world I live in, I need to be able to speak about the subject matter and to show even young people that it's like I'm confident on this topic and they could be as well, you know.